How's it going, guys? I hope you guys can hear me and see me as well. Thank you all for joining our webinar. In this webinar, we're going to focus on how to set up a VideoCoin Worker. Let me first go over who I am. I'm Jason Garcia. I'm the community manager for VideoCoin. We're joined by the CTO, Devadutta Ghat, and Panke, who is a senior blockchain developer for the VideoCoin Network. We're basically going to go over three different things: introduction of what's new for workers, walkthrough on how to set up the worker, and we'll also take questions at the end of this on any questions you might have around working or setting up your worker in general. For those of you who are new to the VideoCoin Network, the VideoCoin Network is a video processing infrastructure that helps us tap into the power of decentralization. We securely connect underutilized computing resources around the world to bring efficiency and scalability to the world of video processing. Essentially, what this means is online videos is a very compute intensive and expensive process. Right now, 80% of online bandwidth is being used up by online video, and we're essentially using workers from around the world to use their idle compute power to lower the costs and also increase the efficiency of through the VideoCoin Network, and at the same time earn some real cash. Last month at our Everest release, it brought in a full commercialization of the VideoCoin Network. What that really means is working, delegating, staking, and paying for video services are now fully integrated features of the VideoCoin ecosystem. So this webinar is part of the process of when onboarding new workers and helping people move along the lines of setting up the workers, answering questions, strengthening the ecosystem, and just jumpstarting the functionality of the VideoCoin Network. I'm going to pass this all over to Deva and Ram, and they're going to briefly go over, or they're going to go through the steps of setting up the worker in a walkthrough. Deva, if you'd like to take it over.
Yep, thanks, Jason. Thanks for setting this up. Also, thanks to everybody for joining. For example, it's great to put faces to names. Like I chat with most of you guys on the tech channel, and it's good to see a face behind the name now. So, like, especially Santiago, I've seen you on. I would have loved to do this on video also, but I presently look like a bear. Just to prove it, I'm going to show you myself. See, okay, this is my.
That's a good COVID beard.
My COVID hair, my COVID beard, and my it's become a COVID monster now.
So that's how we know you've been busy working too.
Yeah. So in order to not scare you all, I'm just gonna switch off video and then do this without video. So yeah, the plan for today is I don't know how much time all of you guys have. This will probably run for 40 minutes. So also, if you guys want to drop off, you feel free to drop off because Jason's recording this and he'll publish this. So you don't have to stick with us for the whole period of time. And at the end of this, if you're still having issues and stuff, I'm always on the tech channel, and also the forums now picking up steam. I'm going to start getting answers on the forum. All right. So what I'm going to do now is share a screen, a window. Okay, so we'll go over the VideoCoin worker setup process and some of the steps that you have to take, and then also they explain why some of these happens, right? Like, so in this session, I'm going to explain what's the simplest path to do this, and there are so many other combinations you can take. Like, for example, and we'll cover some of those when I talk about it, but the goal here is to show you guys what is the easiest way to do this. And then for other special cases we will start supporting you through the forums, and we can take you from there. So we did run a survey. Thanks to everybody who took the survey. Based on that, like most of you had trouble creating a var.env. And I based on that, and also based on the logs, it doesn't look like most of you are stuck at var.env. That probably is just the side effect of skipping one of the original setup steps, right? So most of the steps I'm going to take now is documented here in worker self-staking. So what we will do is, like, if any of this thing, you can go and take a look at this. It's on our forum. Worker self-staking. So those are the steps I'll be covering. But the easiest way to do this is start off, install Docker, create worker account, log in, create client ID, create an ETH file. You have to send Ether into that ETH file, create vid, send vid, and then create the WARS account, and then run the staker command tool, and then pull and run the worker. So this is the foolproof method for you to run a worker without any problems. So a lot of you have asked us why there are so many steps and why it is so complex, right? Like, to be fair, for example, if you want to run an Ethereum worker, you can run a couple of commands and it'll start running a full node. It'll take hours and hours to sync. But for you to run a worker, it is more straightforward than our case. So we've tried to simplify our worker flow also. It's actually, there are a few things that you have to do because of the fact that our token is ERC20, and that gets bridged into our mainnet. A lot of the steps you have to take is to deal with that. And so I just wanted to explain some of the reasons why the complexity exists, right? Like, so if we look at VideoCoin Network, VideoCoin Network is not just a simple blockchain-based binary that we ship and everybody runs that binary and suddenly there's a decentralized network. It doesn't work like that because of the nature of the product, because if video is extremely sensitive and people want highly secure operations, and people meaning our customers want to use credit cards to make payments. They don't want to use crypto tokens to pay. They want the convenience of the product that they're used to, right? Like, let's say if somebody is in a Fortune 500 company, on a daily basis, they use products like AWS, Google Cloud, and some of the other cloud products like DigitalOcean, etc., where they just take a credit card and pay those services or do bank transfers and pay those services and get the service out, right? Like, for them, they really never interact with crypto or buying Ether or buying Bitcoin. These are things that they never do. In fact, when we pitched it to some of our potential customers in the past, they were very clear that they do not want to buy crypto to interact with a platform like this. So we had to make adjustments to our system to deal with that, right? Like, so we added support for crypto. And then once we added support for crypto, added support for fiat. And then the customers said that they don't want to do key management, right? Like, the key management was something that that was really hard for them. So they didn't want to do account management. They didn't want to do payments. So like, we built a lot of stuff on top of just the blockchain layer to make the product work in its entirety, right? Like, so for example, our present architecture the one that's deployed right now is as the Ethereum mainnet, where the ERC20 token lives, and we have a front end, right? Like, the console.videocoin.io is the front end that you all see, which abstracts out a whole bunch of complexities around key management, around account management, runs the ERC20 bridge, runs the payments manager, tries to send payments to workers, payments to, and procures payments from the user studios. And then below that, there is a REST layer. There's a scalable blockchain interface layer. And this layer is like, it's auto-scaling, deals with the demand and exposes REST, RPC, WebSocket, HTTP. So there's a lot of engineering that has gone into build a scalable blockchain layer. So you can think of this as our own Infura, right? Like, we've built our own Infura to make sure that there is enough if the infrastructure scales with demand. And below that is our blockchain layer. So like, let's say you run Ghat Dever. Our blockchain layer is based on Go Ethereum. So this is finally, after digging through so many layers, you get to the blockchain layer where it is the decentralized functionality that runs. But again, the complexity doesn't end there, right? Like we have a VideoCoin protocol that runs on top of our blockchain, and the protocol is the one that manages all of the communications between. It manages the communications between the publishers, the developers, and the workers, and then make sure all the proof of transcoding is established, and then the payments are made according to the work done. And then below that, there's the encode layer. And the encode layer itself is where the workers run, right? Like the transcoders that we will now show you how to run the transcoder. So all of these transcoders run in its own layer, and on top of it, there's a scheduler and a verifier that deals with these transcoders. And on top of that, there's another management layer that deals with public mint, which is our fiat payment layer. So this is the amount of complexity that it involves in our infrastructure that we've built. The way we've built it is to allow for infinite scalability, super easy publisher onboarding, and super easy developer onboarding, and fiat payments, credit card payments, and also relatively, actually I should say, this extremely simple worker onboarding, because we've built a lot of code to make sure even the worker onboarding is extremely simple. So this is the background of why you have to do the setup that you have to do. And what that also gives us is security, right? Like we have some most advanced security that we've built, which provides multi-layer encryption, authentication, and authorization. So let's say there's a worker and the VideoCoin console. The communication between these two entities are extremely layered in terms of security and authentication. It's again because the customers we have are very sensitive to security. And then let's say a publisher wants to publish video on our platform, right? Like and these guys are like big media companies. When we pitch to these big media companies, the first question they ask us is, hey, how secure is your platform? Right? They want to know what happens to the video that lands on the network. How does it get processed? Where does it go? Who are these workers? Are these workers? Can we trust the workers? Can we trust the communication you have between your network and the workers? So there's a lot of questions that come up for us, which we kept in mind when we were designing our security protocols, right? Like, so what we did was we added 4 layers of security on top of our network. The first layer is TLS. Through HTTPS, you get transport layer security. But on top of that, but underneath that, we have a secure service mesh, which provides encrypted communication between our microservices that run on our network. And underneath that, there is a service key infrastructure. So this service key infrastructure is what makes sure that the communication between the console and the worker is encrypted. And the encrypted communication is super important for us to, because remember that we're presenting this product to really big companies who want really serious security for whatever we ship. So what this allows us to do is, like, let's say there is a worker that's misbehaving. The first thing you did was you created an API key. So that was the level 2 security, and below the TLS. So the API key was basically the client ID that you created on the worker console. So that was the API key. So like, let's say a worker misbehaves, we can revoke the API key. As soon as we revoke the API key, the service key, which is actually encrypted public key private key combination pair, that can also be revoked immediately. So what that means is the encrypted I/O between the worker and the VideoCoin console is immediately severed. So if a worker misbehaves, let's say the worker is taking video that is highly confidential, leaking it on the internet, or taking the work that was assigned to the worker, figured out a way to get the work out of the Docker container or out of the binaries, and do malicious activities on it. So the worker will be immediately revoked and removed from the network. So that is the main reason why we have all of these steps and activities that you have to do to get a worker up and running. So this cuts both ways, right? Like the amount of security that we build helps the publishers and also helps the workers, because obviously you guys don't want any sort of when you run workers, you don't want any sort of legal obligation, because let's say there was a rogue developer or a rogue publisher and he put illegal content on the network. As a worker, you also need to be protected, and those protections are offered through some of the legal constructs that we enter into our publishers as well as you guys as workers. So like there's a lot of stuff that we've built here to make sure that the entire system functions in as sane and legally sound way as possible. So on top of all of this, there is also protocol security around staking and the way we delegate, bond, unbond, do this slashing, etc. I'll not get into the details of this because it's a long conversation. I can schedule another meeting for this. But this is the 5th level of security we have. So like there was 4 layers of security that you saw here around TLS, API key, service key, and encrypted IO. And then the 5th level of security is obviously the protocol depots itself, where the bonding and staking and all of this happens. So this is also one of the steps that you take. So that is why you have a few steps to undergo when you set up a worker. But again, believe us when we say that this could have been way, way more complex, and we've boiled it all down to a few simple commands. And if you run these commands, all of these complexities is abstracted out for you as a worker. That brings us back to the steps. So we'll go over these steps step by step now, and then I'll show you what to do. First thing to do is install Docker. Right? And the reason why you need Docker is because we have a heterogeneous pool of workers. Some of you may want to run worker on Mac, on Windows or Linux, or like on the cloud or on Raspberry Pis and so on and so forth. It's at least at this stage, it's really not possible for us to ship binaries for each one of these platforms. Down the road, we definitely want to ship binaries for each one of each platform, and then you can run a binary directly without getting Docker, etc. But Docker gives us that flexibility of being able to run these containers anywhere you want. And also one other extremely important thing we get because of Docker is the additional layer of security, because the binary runs inside a container. When our data center partners that we're working with, they're way more comfortable with running our binary inside a Docker container, because they can control how much resources that the container gets, how much resources, CPU, RAM, etc. The first thing you'll have to do is set up Docker. So there's a link here. There is no way for me to go over how to do this for each one of your platform, but just read up your specific platform. Let's say, for example, installing Docker for Ubuntu. In some distributions, it's as simple as running a sudo apt-get command, and then you'll install Docker. But the first thing you have to do is install Docker. Okay, so the next thing you have to do is create a worker account and get a client ID. So so I have this, like the way you have to do it is go to VideoCoin.network and log in. And if you have signed up as a worker, you'll see the workers tab here. You go to workers, and then you have to create a new worker here. So you automatically get a name assigned for this, whatever this is. And as you see, it's saying setup required, right? Like it's saying you're not registered or run anything here, so you'll not be able to run this worker. So this client ID here is the API key that I was talking about in one of the first security layers, right? Like this is the client ID that we need. I'll go over this in depth again when we create the vars.env. The next thing you have to do is create an ETH key file. So most of you know how to do this, but the easiest way is to create an ETH key file from my Ether wallet. So I'll show you how to do that very quickly. So let's go to my Ether wallet. This is literally the easiest way for you to create a key file. Like just go create a new wallet, and then my Ether wallet will give you all of this warnings about how it is not a bank, etc., etc. Just click through all of this, and what you have to do is you do not use mu wallet or do not use the mnemonic phrase. Just do the Keystore file. And again, they warn you that it is not recommended, etc., etc. It is true. Whatever they warn you is true. But if you make sure that you're on the right My Ether wallet website, you see the connection is secure, and if you make sure that you're not getting phished, one of the easiest ways to do that is to go to My Ether wallet from Google. So like go to Google and search for My Ether wallet, and then click on the top link. So that usually, because Google has a whole bunch of anti-phishing protections, usually will not land into a phishing website. And also another recommended way is to use Chrome. So again, if you Chrome has a whole bunch of phishing protections. So if you land on a phishing wallet, it usually will warn you and ask you to not do that. So you need to next this is set up a password, right? So I'm going to give it a password. So this one probably will want a strong password. Give it a strong password. So I'll give it okay. Oops. What happened to this? Looks like my Ether wallet is not working. So let me try it again. Create wallet. Go to Keystore file, and I'll generate a password. Okay, I generated a super long password. So I'm just gonna paste it here. Okay. Not now. Please wait. Okay, this time it worked. So you do download your Keystore file, right? You see that this thing landed on my desktop. So I just downloaded it into my download file, right? So, and then you'll have to like access your Keystore file. This is also an important step. I'll tell you why. I don't know which one I got. Okay, it's this one. Okay, I'm going to type the password and access wallet. Okay, so I got into the wallet, right? Like this is an important step for you to check whether you can get into the wallet. This is again one of the easiest way to do it. Not recommended, but not recommended because of some of the phishing problems that you'll face. But like I said, if you take some precautions, go to My Ether wallet from Google, use Chrome. All of those problems will be mitigated. So that's the easiest way to do it. If you do not want to do that, you can use Ghat. So the easiest way to do is like once you install Ghat, you can type a command get key ETH key generate, and it'll generate a key file in the folder that you ran the command. So there are again like millions of ways to do this now, because you can use Ledger, you can use Trezor, you can use some mnemonic phrase. So it's like a lot of ways you can do this and then extract keys. But those are all for complex users and complex setup. Even ETH key generate is complex. If you just do not know how to do ETH key generate, then you should definitely read up the docs. It's fairly simple to do it. Once you install Ghat, this is the Ghat install page. Once you install Ghat, it's extremely simple. You just run ETH key generate, and then it'll create a file for you. So let me show you how that happens. I think I'll have to share another window for that to show you guys that part. Okay. Stop presenting. I'm going to show you my other window. Okay, so there's nothing here, right? So I have Ghat installed on my computer. You can install Ghat in multiple ways, like I showed on that link. But if you don't want to do all that my Ether wallet generation and whatnot, you can install Ghat and then you do ETH key generate, okay? And then it'll ask you for a passphrase, and I'll give it a passphrase. I'll call 123 because I'm just showing it for a demo. Again, set a strong password definitely. Now there's a key file.json. So I can cat this key file, and you'll see that it is it's basically an Ethereum key version 3 of key file. I can also show you what I just now downloaded from my Ether wallet, right? So this is the one I just now got. So you see this, right? The one I got from my Ether wallet looks exactly the same as the one that I just now generated in ETH key. This is pretty standard way. It's a very standard Ethereum wallet. There are multiple ways to do this, and then, like I said, these two ways are some of the easiest ways. And you can, if you stick to this, you're definitely gonna succeed in setting up a worker. Okay, so now that you have ETH key generated, so the next thing you have to do is you have to send Ether into this wallet, right? So in this one, if I'm using this address that I just now created in Mu, so you need to send Ether into this address. So right now the ETH balance is 0. So this address won't work for the worker because when you transact with ERC20 tokens, you need Ether in your addresses to pay for gas because, like I said, we have a bridge between the Ethereum mainnet and our native tokens. And for that bridge to execute, there needs to be gas in the mainnet account that you had. So instead of complicating your life, just imagine that you need gas, you need Ether for gas. So recommended is about 0.1 Ether should do it, because that should give you enough. That should give you enough Ether for you to create the staking, to run the staking commands. And then next, you'll have to send VID into this account. So this account that you just now created, you'll have to send VID into this. So this wallet, the good thing about Mu is it supports VID as a token, right? So when you send VID into this, you'll directly see your VID balance here. So you'll have to, for wherever you have VID, let's say you have it in KuCoin or in Bittrex Global or maybe in some other pre-sale account, you need to send VID into this account. Unless that happens, none of the next steps we show you will work. So this is the VID that will be used for the staking methods and staking purposes. Okay. Finally, it comes to creating VAR-study-NV. So this is where most of you guys had issues creating and running into problems. So we recommend using VS Code or yeah, I think VS Code is one of the best that you can use because it's cross-platform. It's cross-platform and free. So you can just get a VS Code, download it and install it. What I'll do is now I will show you how to create a VAR-study-NV using VS Code. So I will now share stop sharing this one, and I'll share my VS Code window. 1 second.
Will there be a question session at the end or as we go?
If it's pressing, you can ask me now.
I'm wondering about the 0.1 Ether recommendation for the gas. Is that on a per var file basis? So for each worker var file, of that quantity?
Yeah, about that one for each worker. Yeah. And it doesn't take that much. I can give you the exact, I can go find out exactly what the gas cost of running a delegate command, sorry, a direct state command, and I can put it in the forum. But you can put that exact amount in. It is just so that you can finish the smart contract call on the direct stake. And then obviously you can set gas price whatever you want, but if you set a higher gas price, then it'll be faster and better. So the 0.1 ETH is like just a recommendation. Okay, so this is VS Studio Code. Okay, so I opened up the directory where I was where I did the ETH key generate, right? So what I'm going to do is, so the good thing about VS Code is actually you can even see your terminal here. You can see your files and whatnot. So those of you who use this, it's super easy to use. So just open keyfile.json in VS Code, right? Like you see this now. This is the key file I just generated using ETH key generate or mu or whatever it is, right? Like so in this case, I'm going to use the ETH key generate key file that I generated. So first thing you have to do is create a vars.env, okay? Create a file. The first thing you have to do is set key file, right? Like the documentation tells you how the file format should look, but like like if you go to the Docker page, I'll show you this one quickly. Actually, let me do this. So now the entire screen. Okay. All right, this is way better. So you see this now. So if you go to Docker, the VideoCoin Network worker page, there is a vars.env example here. So there's only 3 things that you have to tell the worker. One is your key file. Second is the secret. Basically, that's a password, how to unlock your key file. And then the client ID, which is your API key to the worker. So I'm going to bring back up VS Code here. You can still, I hope this thing is still visible and visible enough for you to read what I'm doing. But first thing you do is set a variable called key, right? And for key, say key and equal to, and then all you have to do is copy this key file, and paste it here. That's it. That's the way you set the key file. The next thing you need to set is the secret. So I set the password as 123 for this. Obviously, you should not set the password to 123. That's a terrible password. So set your secret, and then finally set your client ID. This is the third field here. So that's the client ID. And then the client ID you pull from your from the console page. This is the client ID. I'm just going to go and paste it here. Okay, and then just for sanity's sake, just make sure there's no new lines. So there should be 3 lines and not 4 lines, right? Like, and if there's a 4th line, just remove it and then save it. and that's it. Right? Like your vars on env is created like this. And once this is done, you'll have to run the staker command. So the staker command is another tool that is that we have released the Docker image. It is extensively documented in our Docker Hub page, and also explained here. Self-staking, but you'll have to pull that one and run the Docker command using run the staker command using Docker. So there is one small nuance here. That is, remember that you're using Ethereum mainnet, right? Like when you're using Ethereum mainnet, you need to be able to make calls into the Ethereum blockchain. So you can either run your own Ethereum full node and put the Ethereum RPC URL here, but that's super complex, right? Like running a full node in Ethereum is extremely hard. So instead, what we recommend you guys do is create an Infura account. And Infura is it's free for I think 100,000 or so requests. You'll not exceed that ever. Like you need this to make a couple of requests so that you can run the staking contract and staking contract calls. So instead of running an Ethereum full node, just have an Ethereum Infura account, and you need to put that into the environment variables when you're running the stake command. So this is that's what happens here, right? Like you're exporting an environment variable here. So this could be a point of failure. We understand. So what we'll do is, like, after this call, we will also write some scripts where a bunch of this is through an interactive console, right? Like you can say, okay, look, this is my Infura API command, and this is my key file location, etc. And then you hit enter, and it should work. But this is how you do it with the existing toolchain that we have now. I'll just get Ram to show you how to do this in just a bit. And then the final step is to pull and run the Docker command. After you set up vars.env, you just literally have to copy and paste this command, and then it'll run the worker. So I think this is the whole setup process, and Ram will now show you a demo of the steps, stake steps, and the run the worker steps. That'll wind up, and then I'll show you how that worker shows up on a block explorer. But it looks complex, but it honestly is not, because the amount of failure points are high, right? So that is the reason why you guys have some issues trying to get the worker up and running. But once you set up your environment properly and create the vars variable file and run the worker, once you run it, there's really nothing you have to do after that, right? Like the worker runs on its own. I'll come back and then show a few more screens after Ram shows the demo, but I'll show the Explorer here. So all of these workers are presently registered and not online. So now Ram will show you a worker, and you'll see how it will come up here, and then I'll show a bunch of more stuff after Ram does this. So Ram, please share your screen, and I'll stop now.
Could I ask a quick question, Deva?
Yeah.
So in the client ID, I noticed that in the tutorial, the online written instructions, it has some brackets around the client ID, but when you created your vars file, it does not. Does that matter?
I think I see where the confusion is coming from. So this is not, what you're seeing here is not the vars. It is, let me share my screen. I think you're looking at the ETH key. So that's the confusion here. So I'll edit the doc, and then it'll make it more clear. So I think you saw this one, right?
Well, so after key equals, you then have your bracketed Ethereum key. Then you have your secret equals, and then your password, and then below that the client ID equals, and you have the open and closed. I forget, triangles or whatnot. Are those necessary? Those
No, I don't know where you saw that. If you can please let me know the exact link. I will go and edit it. It's wrong.
So it's just client ID equals to whatever you get from the page.
Yep, it's like this. So this is, if you go to Docker, we'll link this, but when you pull the Docker image, the Docker hub tells you you only need 3 lines. So like, this one, I see the problem. Okay, you think that these brackets are, you're asking whether you need to put these brackets or not.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. No, you don't need that. No. We'll clarify that. Yes. So you see this, right? Like the client ID is only this much.
Now you do need the brackets in the key because that's what's pointing to the Ethereum mainnet, correct?
Correct. So the key is actually a proper JSON file. So it should be a JSON file. So this, okay, I see the problem. We will edit this and make this better. So Jason, can you please make a note of this?
Yes, noted.
Okay, cool. All right, Ram, take over, please.
Hi, everybody. I'm going to show the worker commands, basically a stacker command followed by starting a worker. I'll start sharing my screen. Hope you are able to see the screen that I am presenting.
Yep. Yes, Ram, we can see it.
Yes. So the first command that I'm going to show is stacker command. Basically, here I'm trying to query the current stake for my worker. I'll run the command and then explain each field in this command. So basically, this command says my worker is bonded and it has some minimum token set for this demo purpose. Basically, it allows me to run my worker further. So here in this, the stacker is the main command and stake is a sub command which is showing the status of my current worker. And this worker 0.json is the key file that Deva explained earlier. For the purpose of protecting my password, I put it under an environment variable called password. And similarly, the Infura URL that Deva explained, I am using an Infura URL to access Ethereum mainnet. Again, I put it under an environment variable called URL. So with this, I can repeat the commands with the same environment variables. Now I'll try to show other values of my worker, say by using the command probe. So these details of these commands, you can get it running a help. So currently shares my address, Ethereum mainnet address is same as my VideoCoin network address, and the current stake, and some vid I have for the purpose of doing transactions on VideoCoin. So if you don't have any questions, I'll try to run the worker with these settings. Before that, let me show you.
Ram, can I just add a quick pointer? Yeah, so like, Ram has set these environment variables, password and URL and stuff, right? He has done that because of this is a demo. He doesn't want to show you his password.
Yeah, but I'll show you the variable var.nv file here. So let me.
Correct. So like what you can do is, instead of that, you can actually.
So it may answer some of the Santiago's questions also. This is what Deva showed, the Ethereum key up to this. This is the Ethereum key, followed by client ID. I don't use those brackets here. That's what Santiago. So this client ID is what I obtained from my studio console or VideoCoin console. I hide my secret here. Basically, I have to enter the secret here.
How are you in a bonded state when the delegated stake is at 0 and self-stake at 3?
Yeah, this is a demo node. So this is pulling from our dev network. Yeah.
Okay. So in this case, self-stake would have to be what, presently 50,000 or delegated stake plus self-stake?
No, self-stake has to be 50,000. Yeah.
Okay. If there are no questions, I'm going to run the worker now. So basically, I'm pointing n file to my variables file that I demoed, but with the valid key here. Once I start running it, it indicates, it checks whether it is bonded or not. Once it is bonded, it continues to communicate with the VideoCoin main network. If it is not bonded, it will show you the error and stop there. So that is where most of you, if environment file is not set properly, you may be seeing an error here. But once it is set properly, it starts communicating and waiting for the work, as well as it will run some measurement tests to upload to the VideoCoin network. You can see things like, it is measuring the CPU capacity. Deva, can you show the presence of this worker in Explorer?
Yeah. So let me share my my entire screen.
So just to know, I named this worker as Warrior 0 in my console. So Deva should be able to see it as a kind of active worker with the name Warrior 0.
Right. You see, this is our block explorer. And then this has come up here. And then you can, as soon as this is done, you can view the staking address. And then this is what your delegators would use to stake. As I said, because this is a developer node, and then we only bonded it for testing. So we bonded it way before we got the production limits up and running, right? So this is a demo node, so it can bond at 3. But if you have a worker node, then you need to bond. You need to have 50K in direct stake here, and then it'll bond. So remember that there's 10-day bonding period. And then once you're bonded, your worker will start showing up here and start getting and start taking delegations, and delegations coming from this address. Do you have any further questions on the demo? If not, I will talk about a few more things.
Just a quick question on the bonding period. I think it's currently set at 10 days, correct?
Yeah.
And if you have to take a worker offline, does that clock reset back to 10 days if you want to bring it back online?
No. That's why the bonding period is associated with your address. So like, let's say you bond your address, you can kill your worker, bring it back up. You can change your client ID. You can take it to another worker. You can do all kinds of stuff.
Okay, so the bonding period is associated with the wallet address, not with the client ID?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Okay. So, like, there are certain steps in this that we can simplify further, and then we're working on a UI like this, which we don't have a set time yet, but we want to ship it as soon as possible. We're working hard on this. So it'll remove some of the steps that I showed you now. Like creating a wallet, if you don't have one, like unlocking it, and all of those things. We're trying to automate it here and make a UI like this. This is presently under heavy development. We'll keep you guys updated on when it will be ready. But there are certain steps that no matter what I do, we cannot simplify it. Like this one, for example, there's no way this step, vid step, and the ETH step, right? These two steps are one of the most important steps that you have to do. And if you skip these, then everything will fail. So we cannot fix these steps. We can simplify some of these things. For example, we can remove the requirements and stuff. But overall, the worker setup is an involved process because we expect our workers to be at least slightly technical, if not extremely technical, so that like if there is something wrong with your worker, if the client gone down or something, you know how to fix it. So this is the demo, and this is our roadmap. So and as you notice, I did not cover anything about delegation. The whole delegation, the way it's presently implemented, you can do the whole thing through the stake command, right? Like just the way Ram showed you probe and stake and fund, you can delegate directly from the stake command. But remember, we made an announcement around the Genesis staking pool stuff, and we'll make some of the delegation processes based by using like shipping a UI for it. But that's only going to be for a short period of time, right? Because we want you guys who are the workers who are really interested in joining our network. We want you guys to set up workers, set up worker pools, get your own delegators, run massive pools of operation, and accept work and get paid in fiat for it. So our goal with the Genesis staking pool is just to make sure that at least until all of you guys figure out how to run workers, until we get more data centers join in and run workers, have a supporting function, and then we really hope you guys can get up and running soon. After that, like delegate commands it will be removed out of this one from the command line, and then the wallet interface that we will build, your delegators can use that wallet interface to do the delegation. So, but you definitely have to ramp up on the staker command and on the worker command to be able to run a worker. So that's it from our sides. I really thank you for joining us, and I'll take any additional questions you may have.
Cool. Let me go ahead and start with.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Santiago, and then we'll take one of the questions from chat. You go ahead.
The payment flows. So if a worker successfully completes the job, what information was provided in the setup that facilitates the payment flow? How does that part work, or will you have a separate informational on that?
That's a great point. Actually, I'm Jason. Can you please make a note of this one? We've not added it into the documentation here, but I'll add it. However, I'll show you quickly how that works. So we'll add that to the documentation. So the way you do it is, you let it go to wallet.publicmint.io, because remember that you got paid in fiat, right? So all the fiat that you got paid in is in this third-party company that we work with, Public Mint. So what you'll have to do is you have to click on access a wallet, and then literally take the key that you just now created from hold on. I just need to pull the key. So basically the key that you now created and set up the worker with, right? You have to drag and drop that here, enter your password, and as soon as you do that, you'll be able to unlock your wallet. So after that, you'll have to create an account, and Public Mint will take you through their own account creation process and their own KYC process and whatnot. But at the end of it, you'll be able to get money directly out of here into your US bank account or European bank account or whichever bank account that these guys support. So as soon as the way we've implemented our system is the key that you use to set up your worker is the key that you'll get compensated in fiat on. So like you just bring that key here, drag and drop it, unlock it, and create an account, and you'll be able to pull out your your fiat money from here.
So the payment is actually, well, it's programmatic and it's by an ERC20 token, like fiat equivalent token, and then Public Mint does the interchange to ACH or your bank?
Yeah, exactly. So Public Mint basically is a blockchain for fiat money, and then we make when a worker gets paid, there is a corresponding transaction that happens on Public Mint. Actually, Public Mint has an explorer and everything. So let's see if it's up and running. This one was, yeah.
And is that vulnerable to high Ethereum transactions? Like, in other words, if the network is clogged, would that delay funds into Public Mint?
No, these guys have their own blockchain. So it's not Ethereum at all. So like, any transaction that we make, so like say, for example, the worker address you created, if you just put that here, it's just like Etherscan, right? Like you put that here and then you'll see how much your worker has in terms of fiat. So, I'll go back to my, what is this? VS Studio, right? So, this is the one that I created, the key file, this is the address, right? So let's say I set up the worker, I can just go and search based on this one. Presently, there's nothing. I don't have any transactions. But this is what it is. You'll see your present fiat holdings right here. Right now it's saying 0 USD because I don't have any. I didn't run any workers, right? But let's say if I put Ram's worker, actually even Ram's worker won't have any because because he just now set it up and there was not any work that happened. But you can, by the way, you can see all of this right here in your earnings. So like you see this, right? Like this in console, you click on earnings, it'll show you your Public Mint earnings right here. And then it explains how you can click on Public Mint here and you go and then access your wallet, and then you can pull out funds from Public Mint.
So Public Mint is the receptacle for your Ethereum-based stablecoin revenue, and then they facilitate the transition to fiat.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Okay.
Yeah, not exactly right, but you're about there. The easiest way to look at this is Public Mint provides Ethereum compatible blockchain on which we have a representation of the money that the publishers paid us, right? Like, so the publisher pay us, let's say $100 for getting some work done. So we have a representation of those $100 on Public Mint blockchain. And when work gets done, so the publisher's $100, so let's say a publisher or developer transcodes 1 gigabyte of video, then the publisher, let's say, paid $10 for that work. So that $10 is represented on Public Mint, and the workers get paid from that US dollars that was on Public Mint blockchain. And because we use Ethereum compatible keys for VideoCoin, and as well as we use Ethereum compatible keys for Public Mint, the fiat gets landed into the same exact worker key that you set up, right? And then when it's time for you to pull out the funds, you go and create the account at wallet.publicmint.io. This is not documented, and we will document this. But as soon as you go here, you access your wallet, and you'll be able to pull out your money. These guys are properly regulated. The reason why this is a very important partner for us is they are properly regulated FDIC. They're listed with US regulators, so they can basically connect to proper US banks. So whatever you earn after you finish KYC, you can pull that out from Public Mint. So that'll land as proper US dollars. So there's no conversion or anything that happens in between.
Thank you.
Okay, guys.
On the chat, sorry, David, one last question. So is it possible to dedicate a worker from 4 cores from available 8 cores? I'm assuming that this is talking about, a home computer that has 8 cores and you just dedicate.
Oh, yeah. That's exactly why a Docker container is super useful. So like when you're running the Docker container, you can see some advanced options in Docker. You can actually specify how much cores you want that container to use, how much storage you want the container to use, and so on. Right? Like it's all of that is super configurable in the Docker command line. And like I said, in our UI that we're building, when this thing ships, you'll be able to control the cores like this. Like you'll be slide out how much RAM you want to use, how much cores you want to use. So we're building this thing. When it ships, you'll be able to do it, but you can do it right now using Docker commands.